Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the mass airflow sensor on a Chevy Trailblazer. Let's go ahead and get started. Now to complete this, you only need two things. Obviously your replacement mass airflow sensor. It comes with this capped off, but if we remove that, you can see the sensor itself, and you can see that. So you're obviously going to need that. Now I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, why waste money on replacing an airflow sensor if you can just clean it? Well, that's not always the case. Yes, you can clean it if it's the dirty sensor that's causing the issue. And if you want to see how to clean a mass airflow sensor, you can check out my video via the link above. I'll also have a link down in the description. But sometimes that's just not the case. Sometimes the sensor is completely failed and you need to replace it. So it's also important that you just don't clean the sensor, but that you also test it properly. If you want to see how to test a mass airflow sensor using a multimeter, you can check out my video also via the link above. I'll also have a link down in the description, as well as some other videos that would be helpful for this project. So in addition to the mass airflow sensor, the only other thing you'll need is a flathead screwdriver so you can remove the hose clamps from the intake duct to get to it. Now the engine that we're working on is actually the General Motors 5.3 liter V8. So even though this is on a Chevy Trailblazer, it should be similar on any of the other vehicles that utilize the 5.3 liter V8. Now another thing to keep in mind, because a lot of people will say, you know, these are expensive and all that stuff. If you shop around, you can get a good deal on them. However, you got to be careful. You can get them online. You can get them at Advance Auto, AutoZone. You can get them through the dealer. Obviously, the dealer is going to be a ripoff, so I would not advise that. But you don't want to just get junk. I did do a video where I talked about, you know, cheap car parts and all that stuff. You can check that out also via the link above. There will also be a link down in the description. But if you shop around, you can get them cheaper. So it really all depends on what are you looking for. This particular vehicle here has a lot of miles on it. I don't know how much longer it's going to be around. So I'm just really changing it out just to keep the fuel air ratio good, all that stuff. So I went with a cheaper one. I don't know if I would recommend that depending on how long you plan on having the vehicle. So it's important to shop around because you can get them a lot cheaper. You just need to make sure that you're just not buying junk. So talking about the mass airflow sensor, this is an important component as far as with it registering the fuel and air ratio. And if this thing starts to fail, whether it needs to be cleaned, whether it's bad, whatever the case is, but if it's not functioning properly, that will affect the performance of your vehicle. So it is an important thing. You don't want to neglect that. So if you're getting the engine code that comes on that pertains to this sensor, it's important that you remove it and either test it, clean it, whatever you're going to do, and then determine whether it needs to be replaced and get that taken care of, because it will affect the actual performance. You'll also notice the vehicle could be having a very rough idle. In some severe cases, the car can also stall out as well. So you want to be careful with that. So let's go ahead and remove the old one. We'll put the new one in, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. First, let's locate the sensor. So if you're looking here at the front of the vehicle, left side, passenger side, you have your air filter canister right here. If you follow the ductwork, which leads its way into the throttle body, the first piece right here, this is your mass airflow sensor. So this is a pretty easy vehicle to get to it. Some of them are in different locations, but on this one here, it's very easy. So here's your air filter canister, and then right off of it, you have two. And you can see one screw right there. Here's the other one. You have these two hose clamps. So all we have to do is just untighten them. We can slide it off on this end and then pop it off on this end. That's our sensor. And then you do have a plug right here. We'll have to release that little safety clip, pull that off, and then just remove it, put the new one in, reconnect everything, and then you're done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this, just use a flathead screwdriver, gently lift up on this. That's your little locking tab right here, and we can pull that out. And then we're just going to press this part right here in, push that down, and then this right here will come right off. We'll set this off here to the side. And now all we have to do is use a flathead screwdriver to loosen these two straps right here for these hose clamps right here, and then we can get the sensor out. Just want to kind of work it slowly. This one here can be on there pretty tight. There it comes. Loosen it up. Sometimes if you want to open up the air filter canister, you have this little attachment here. You can take that off. Sometimes that makes it easier, but it doesn't always have to come off. There we go. And then just slide that out. Pull that off. And here's our old one. And this one here on the right is the, I believe, the original one. So this is the GM one. The one on the left is the aftermarket one there. And slight difference there, but pretty much same sensor. One thing you want to keep in mind is it has a flow direction with an arrow shown right there. You want to make sure that it goes in properly that way. So now that that one's out, let's put the new one in and close everything up and fire it up. We're going to take the new one. The flow direction has the arrow pointing this way. So the air is going to be entering this way, passing through this mesh. So the mesh part is what faces the intake. So that way the air comes through the filter, passes through here, and then it goes in that way. And there's also a little plastic square little bump right there. And I'll show you here. But on the hose itself, you have a little indentation where it goes in. So that'll kind of keep it aligned the way it needs to. So that way the input for the harness faces towards the firewall to plug in. So if we lift it up, there's the indentation in the actual hose right there for this intake duct where that little square piece is going to fit in right there. So we'll line that up right here. Let's see. You want to be careful not to damage any of the sensors, any of that. Okay, so we have that in. Next we have this, which goes, I'll show you what we did. You have this little opening right here that slides over the air intake canister right here. And then now we can take this, push it in. There we go. Get the top one on all the way. You want to make sure that you get a nice, there you go. Nice, tight bond. Everything looks great. Okay. Make sure that everything's tight. You don't want to have any gaps. You want this to be a nice, solid fit. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten these hose clamps. Get it nice and tight on both of them. Nice and tight. Now we'll take our harness We'll plug it back in. Make sure you slide that in. The clip goes on top. Take the locking clip, lock it on there. Everything is connected in. Let's go ahead and fire it up, see how everything is, and wrap this up. Okay, that pretty much wraps up this video on how to replace the mass airflow sensor on a Chevy Trailblazer or any of the GMs with the 5.3 liter. I hope that this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out with any projects you might be working on. Please send me any questions, comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. So please like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.